And it's time for business. And Emmanuel Abajuyafi is here. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hi, Easy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
All right, you carry on.
Good evening and welcome to business tonight. The Ghana Revenue Authority Task Force on Tax Stamp Education and Enforcement in Kumasi today clashed with some shop owners who claim they were unaware of the tax regime. The policy introduced 2 years ago requires traders to affix tax stamps on some selected domestic and imported goods and beverages. GRA says it is intensifying education and enforcement with shop-to-shop inspection. Besides, it is also reviewing its town hall meeting approach to rather focus on groups and individual stakeholder engagement. Nana Sensu-Mensah has more in this report.
The Excise Stamp Act, Act 873 of 2013, requires manufacturers and importers to affix the stamps on the products before putting them on the market. During an unannounced inspection by the task force, a liquor and beverage shop owner at Asafo engaged in hot verbal exchanges with the task force, insisting education on the policy is scanty.
The government should educate us on how to fix the right stamps on appropriate beverage. Especially we, the liquor retailers, we need thorough education on the tax stamp policy to indicate which type of stamps is fit for a particular product. We all can't use mobile phones to check the authenticity of the tax stamps.
These are imported products, and then it doesn't have a stamp on it. So it's, these are smuggled products, and then we are going to seize it, and then we look for the person who imported this product into the country. So
other infractions discovered by the task force included misapplication of the stamps and selling products without stamps fixed on them. Principal Revenue Officer Lydia Sawenim led the team.
They say we are not, the education is not enough, it's acceptable because we involve them in everything, we involve them. But if they are still complaining, fine, we've taken it in good faith. We are going to go back, re-strategize, and come back with educational again, because even this one that we are doing, we are still educating them. You remember when we went to the other shop, the lady was saying that she even didn't know the difference for the imported one and the locally manufactured one, because we saw that the imported product has been affixed with a local excise stamp, and she was saying she didn't know the difference. So even this thing that we are doing, we are still educating them.
Madam Asarenim urged consumers to insist on buying products affixed with tax stamp to ensure full compliance.
That we are pleading with the consumers to also help us, because if we are a consumer and you don't buy, the manufacturer will not produce it without affixing the stamps. So we are pleading with consumers, everybody, the media, everybody, they should upload the app and check. Even if the stamps are on it, they should check the authenticity of the stamps.
For Joy News, Nana Sensu-Mensah, Kumasi.
Now, Ghana has signed a €16 million financing agreement with the German Development Corporation to finalize the process of becoming a member of the Africa Trade Insurance Agency. Deputy Minister of Finance Charles Edubuahin, initial for Ghana, expressed confidence that the development will reduce the country's risk of borrowing. Here's more in this report.
Ghana will obtain an insurance cover of about $4 billion as it becomes a member of the African Trade Insurance Agency. Deputy Minister of Finance Charles Edubuahin outlines the impacts of this insurance cover on the country.
Investors will replace the government's guarantee with an ATI insurance product or an ATI guarantee, which means that government will not have to incur a contingent liability to these amounts sitting on its books that can be called upon at any time. And the risk and the insurance would have been moved from government onto the hands of a private sector or a multilateral agency, which can then, step in and play the role that it should play in terms of making the environment more comfortable and less risky for investors to come in. So I think that's the main aim. The main purpose of something like this is that that it lowers the level of risk. It allows investors to have more confidence in coming in because they have insurance that if anything was to go bad, they can call upon it.
Acting Chief Executive of the African Trade Insurance Agency, John Letane, disclosed that the agency is ready to support trade transactions by government.
Standing portfolio guaranteeing trade and investment across the continent. A little bit in Ghana, but now that Ghana's completed full membership, I can say with certainty that we will be supporting significant volumes of trade and investment here, probably close to $1 billion within even 12 to 18 months. It is a kind of geeky technical thing what we do, but effectively we're de-risking the full spectrum of debt and or equity investments in our member states. So if you think about an equity investor, say someone building a factory here, they're always worried, and it's not just true of Ghana, in any country, is the government going to honour my contract? So one of the things we can do is give them that certainty from an outside party to honour the contract, that it won't be messed with, and effectively that allows long-term investment to flow, because investors fundamentally want long-term certainty.
The fund will help provide investment opportunities for the private sector.
Now, head of cooperation at the EU office in Ghana, Zoltan Agai, says some programs are being initiated and supported to boost export margins into EU markets. This follows Ghana recording a 48% rise in export levels in 2018 alone. Ghana is part of West African countries taking part in the West Africa Competitiveness Program. The program equips participating markets to improve upon raw materials to make more returns on exports. Speaking at the Stakeholders Forum, Zoltan Agai pledged full support for the country's export initiatives. There's more in this report.
Ghana has been picked out as a priority market in the West Africa Competitiveness Program after recorded impressive performance in exports to the European market in 2018 alone across the agribusiness value chain. The program, which is a partnership initiative between the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the European Union, EU, saw Ghana record an export volume worth €3.1 billion to the European market in 2018, accounting to a 48% increase from 2017. Here's head of cooperation of the EU, Zoltan Agai.
Ghana has a strong potential to increase its agribusiness exports, sharing the regional but also continental and international markets. And the EU is there to support the country in this endeavor. The EU is one of the strongest trade and investment partners of Ghana. In 2018, Ghana exported €3.1 billion of goods to the EU market, which is a 48% increase from the previous year.
Charles Kwame Sake is the Chief Technical Advisor of the West Africa Competitiveness Program in Ghana. He projects a higher performance in exports once the 4-year WACOM program is completed.
Usually we say, oh, this is for Ghana and this is for the European market. But now you have to know it right from the beginning so that your product can be competitive anywhere you want to go.
At the initial stages, how has Ghana performed?
Well, the initial stage, I think Ghana is doing well. There are a few companies that would say are already on this track. They are having the standards. And we think that this project also coming on, helping a lot more producers to conform to standards and producing more, we should be able to contribute to increase from 3.1 to something. We may have an X figure at the end of this year or next year. I mean, we are just in the inception phase.
WACOM is funded through a €120 million contribution from the Regional Indicator Program for West Africa under the 11th European Development Fund. In Ghana, the program is implemented by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, in coordination with Ghana's Ministry of Trade and Industry.
And that's business for now. I'm coming back.